Action Comics 1066, and to be honest, also Superman 15, because like they're parts 5 and 6 of a story, and I don't see how
Yep.
we can possibly talk
No.
about each of them individually when we've read them together. So,
Hmm.
Action Comics is Joshua Williamson and Rafa Sandoval and Miguel Medoncha. Superman is Williamson writing, of course, and just Rafa Sandoval in art. So
Hmm.
Medoncha's only helping on action, I guess.
Yep.
So, uh, yeah, so we've wrapped up this arc, this House of Brainiac arc, and we can get into how we felt by the end of it. Obviously, it started off fairly reasonable, and we kind of lost its way in the middle. I don't think anything here at the end sort of brought it back to like its
No.
high point again, I would say.
No. I forgot that they killed the Zardians at the end of the last part.
So you started this issue, and you're like, "Well, there's a bunch of dead Zarnians here. What's going
Yeah.
on?"
Yeah. And with Superman yelling, "You killed them,
Uh,
Brainiac," and I was like, "Oh man, thanks for the reminder."
Yeah, the big thing for me is that when it got to the panel at the bottom of that first page, and you see
Yeah.
like the big Hulk Doomsday version of Brainiac Queen, I was like, oh, I forgot she had this other form. Oh, I was
I
happy
hate
I'd
it.
forgotten this.
Yeah. Uh,
Rough times, rough times. So yeah, I mean, Lobo pops out and he's mad at Brainiac, of course.
I I do like he's like I finally found a bunch of people that weren't, yes, they were a-holes, but they were my kind of a-holes, and you got rid of them. Now you got to deal with me. I kind of did like that.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
what's weird for me about all this last couple of issues here is that basically it's like, okay, now Superman and Lobo have to take on Brainiac Queen, and eventually some other super family members jump in and help as
yes.
well. But I just kind of felt like you've just told me that she wiped out like hundreds of Zarnians on her own, and I get that Superman is powerful, but I just like,
Lobo and him fight to a standstill, right?
yeah.
And she just killed a city's worth of them. I do, and also I don't understand because she's not consuming them, right? I don't understand how this is powering her up.
It just is that.
Yeah,
It just
it
is.
just is, and I don't understand that because at least I could see if he's like, well, the Zarnians and their regenerative properties, right? That's gonna keep her energy going in this form or whatever. But it's just like the whole plan is for her to consume everything, and I don't know if that comes out in Superman or in Action because we're doing them together. But that's ultimately Brainiac's plan. He's just gonna keep feeding her these bottled cities and then eventually planets and whatnot. And essentially, Brainiac essentially is becoming Galactus, but without the cool helmet.
Well,
You know?
Brainiac Queen is because Brainiac might actually eventually die, or at the very
Yeah.
least, he can't really consume all of the knowledge he wants anymore.
Yes.
That's the thing it gets to, is that it's too much for him to. So
Hmm.
he's built a like a wife, a predecessor, or not predecessor, a successor. Sorry, is the word I was
Yep.
looking for. To basically be able to store and actually be the perfect version of what he thinks he should be. Uh, so he gets Lena, and he sort of has her going to like sort of techno horror thing where all these wires connect up to
Yeah.
her. Uh, so it's like, yeah, you're going to, was it? Yeah, she's got knowledge embedded in her from her time
Hmm.
with him, and this is going to kill her. Going through all this. Uh, God, I'm trying to remember all. Yeah, actually, that's the other thing that I had a problem with,
Yeah.
is that basically out of nowhere they just give you a reason why Connor Kent has a power that was hinted at when he was fighting the Chained. That
Hmm.
with one big ground punch, he's going to take out everything on the Brainiac ship.
Yeah. So with when it comes to the clone Connor Kent, he's always had what he's called tactile telekinesis, and that's how they explain how he can fly, right? Basically, he had this aura that he you know that he's his aura to make him more Kryptonian. It would allow him to move things with his mind, but he had to be touching them at the same time, right? So with the chain, we found out that's how the chain operates. It's just magnified to it. So Connor realized that by touching the ship, because everything's connected to the ship, by essentially overloading his tactile telekinesis, he's able to hit like this essentially a Brainiac level EMP to knock out the whole ship,
Yeah.
right? But I, it's fine, I guess. It's
It,
very much Deus Ex Machina.
yeah, it just felt easy. It just felt out of
Yeah.
nowhere. Like, hey, remember there was a brief hint that
Yes.
I don't know. It just didn't feel like a good payoff to anything. I just was, okay.
No.
I guess that solves half the problems immediately. All right.
Yes.
So there's that whole thing. But that is the thing, though. My big problem with it is that it knocks out Brainiac Queen. She collapses. That's her. She's done. So after she just killed like a city full of Zarnians, a city full of Lobos, even if you want to call it that.
He does the Superboy does the equivalent of the Superman punch, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or more precisely, it's just like Superboy Prime punching reality. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels so easy. I feel like you spent the last couple issues building up Brainiac Queen to be this unstoppable killing machine.
Yes.
And then Connor Kent, of all people, no offense, Matt, just immediately just takes her out like it's nothing.
And see, there's an opportunity to do this whole thing of the family stands together, and that's where you have Brainiac as the solo entity that, yes, there's other versions of himself that he's trying to spread the knowledge out through to try to stop these glitches, even though he knows that it's going to kill him. But you could have Clark and the Super Family stand against him, and that's, through whatever. Their combined power is what eventually takes out Brainiac Queen. So it just shows like this is an actual family. This is not a bunch of people that you've molded to be just like you to be a family. But that's not what Williamson does. He does big punch, make monster go down, and then he gets Brainiac's actual family involved, which we kind of get a beat of that. But I don't feel like it hits those beats as well as it could have.
Yeah, Brainiac, because the Kolu City's bottles are smashed, his family show up, including his son, and it's a whole thing. The Super family show up as well. Lex and Kara show up. Superman's pissed at Lex, but Kara's like, "Oh, listen, no, hear him out. Like he's not behind all this." Ah, dear. Yeah. So
we get the flippin' Brainiac Cerebro helmet from Luthor.
We do. Honestly, I read these like just so back to back. I'm just like, yeah. So they're fighting all the different versions of Brainiac and the family and all that. Right, so that's the cliffhanger at the end of Action Comics, right? And this is the problem, like, with these both come out in the same week, is that I read both of them, and like, if you'd asked me before we got to this, and I'm looking at the page now, what's the split? What ends this issue and starts the next one? I could never have told you. Could never have told you. There is technically a backup on this issue. I didn't read it, but
yeah. So it's essentially, I mean, it's kind of it's a side chapter of what's going to happen in Superman. Although clearly it didn't get in your way because you didn't read it.
No, I just went on the next one.
But it's just a quick exploration of Lex and Lena's relationship. So while she's plugged into the ship, she's seeing herself as a Brainiac. So Lex in his Cerebro helmet taps through to her, and she basically starts saying like, "Well, I was never anything but a pawn to you. Like this is all you would use me for." And because as a baby, he essentially trades her to Brainiac. Brainiac comes back from the future where now she's been, made a servant of that Brainiac. I think it was 13, and is eventually returned back to after Our World's at War. Superman eventually returns her back to Lex, but then because of all of this, she still has Brainiac pieces in her, which we've gotten. That's how she's able to do what she was doing through the run, and that he sent her to go live with the mom because she couldn't stop aging quick, right? Because of this Brainiac stuff. So in order to kind of counter that, he sends her far away. And it's an exploration of his guilt because at the end of the day, he does care for her. And that's what's going to make him do the right thing. So they end up facing off against a version in this hive mind of Brainiac, which is where they are of that Brainiac 13. And Lex is able to make it right and save Lena. So they go through. Brainiac ends up separating them, Brainiac 13, and Lex goes, "You're not going to take her again, even if it kills me." And it ends with them like wired into the wall. Although this art here by Laura Braga is not as techno horror as much as the stuff that I think Sandoval had done, but it has them in wires. But you see Lex's hand come up and join Lena's while they're linked in to this hive mind.
I mean, this leads us neatly into the start of Superman then, because Superman Lex is jacked into the network that
Mm-hmm.
Lena's been hooked into, and I get this. This to me is just part of like what's so uninspiring. So I mean, this is
Mm-hmm.
not just Williamson. A lot of comic book writers would do this. This is not just him.
Yes.
But you're doing a story here, right? And again, you're having to squeeze it into like part of the final issue of the arc, so you don't have enough time to do anything really fun with it. But instead of doing something interesting with like the digital world that she's in
Yeah.
and he's going to save her from, you just have them fighting. Like it's like they're in Green Lantern like suits, just like,
Contracts.
yeah, they're just fighting like digital enemies, like it's an action movie, and them like this is just the same type of fighting shit we're seeing in the real part of the comic book. Like,
Yep.
wouldn't it be more interesting if like the digital world was different and it wasn't just a fight? That's just all I could think when I saw them like firing bolts of energy at like digital robot things.
At a digital brain
Yeah,
that they come up to. Yeah.
it's just the most boring thing you could have possibly done for this
It could
digital
have
world.
literally been anything. It could have been Lex in the Apocalypse suit, right? In his Lex suit, going through, because they could, like you said, they could literally be anything. It's Inception, right? They're in the dream world.
Yeah, she could have been sitting playing chess in the park, and he has to come up
Yeah.
and beat her in chess or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
anything, literally
Yeah.
anything else.
Yep. But no, he goes and pushes a button to delete the whole Brainiac system, I guess, right? It's the hive mind. So he's essentially shutting it off and turning it back on.
Yeah, Brainiac's pissed that Lady Brainiacs went down, and he's punching Superman and yelling about it. It's a whole thing.
Mhm.
The rest of the Super family show up, which Superman's not thrilled with because he was hoping they would get to safety or
Yep.
whatever. But they're all involved. There's more Lex and Lena firing blasts at a brain inside the digital world.
Mhm.
Eventually, it does help take down Brainiac. He kind of like, holds his head and there's like lightning coming out of his face as if he's malfunctioning. And yeah, that's that. And it's going to detonate the ship, which
I love though that him losing his intelligence, right? Because it starts at 99% intelligence.
that's right. Yeah.
It's counting down like it's a bomb instead of him just like not being able to do motor functions, right?
I think the implication is that because the ship's just hardwired to him and he controls it mentally, that's why the ship's just breaking down as his intelligence is decreasing.
Yes.
So basically it's like, we have to find a place for all of these worlds that are in, or all these cities, I should say, in these bottles. What's it called? We see it created later on. It's
the new Kalu.
Yeah, it's
right?
Kalu
And
2.0. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's essentially Warworld. So they just made another Warworld, except this one's not based off of Mongol and his.
No. It's just like a world made of all these cities that Brainiac had on his ship. It's a big like tech looking world as well.
Yeah, it's almost like that Green Lantern Mosaic book, right? Where it's all the different aliens living on one planet, and each of them looks like a different.
Yeah. Honestly,
a different piece.
Can I just say how much I quickly just went through this issue? Like, I was looking for things to talk about, and so much of it was fighting.
Yes.
I just like skipped past so many pages to get to the important stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is where Brainiac. We find out that Brainiac puts the Brainiac Queen in the shuttle, and we get another
just like
recreation.
Jor-El putting Superman in the ship or Kal, I should say, in the ship.
And it is very, here, I may be gone, but your story's just beginning. My queen, and it shoots off. So I thought that was kind of inspired because I saw it here first before Ground Zero, before they run that back. But I thought that was kind of, in the grand story of what Brainiac wanted to do. It's him continuing his legacy. Much like, Clark was, Krypton's legacy. So
yeah, so a couple things from the end of this here is that obviously Superman reunites with Lois, and just as they're about to get smoochy, Kara brings Lex onto the roof, and they're like, wait, what's this? What's going on? And Superman makes a whole speech about, you know what, Lex, you're the man you said you were. I'm proud of you. You're a good man now. And then Lex turns and looks at him with these big bright eyes and says, who's Lex Luthor? So him being hooked up to the Brainiac device or network has clearly scrambled his brain.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. It does make me wonder though if like there's someone else in there or if his mind's just been wiped. I guess we'll find out. But that's our first little cliffhanger. there's a little page at the end teasing what's going to come in Superman after absolute power.
Yep.
And it looks like Doomsday punching the wall to get out.
The hell wall.
Yeah.
So which we had seen, which we enjoyed that issue, right? Of him trying to become the King of Hell.
Yes, but it obviously this very much mimics the opening of Death of Superman, though, with Doomsday punching his way out of wherever he was being kept.
Right.
So we're getting Doomsday after absolute power.
Cool.
I mean, I don't hate it. I just know that Williamson's going to fumble the ball because he always fumbles the ball.
Look! If this was another writer that was taking, if it was Dan Waters who wrote the King of Hell stuff, and we had Bloodwind down there with Supergirl, I'd be like, cool. Let's see what he's going to do on Superman.
I wonder if we get more of Bloodwind then, since we're bringing back the Hell.
I mean,
stuff.
he became the Superman of Hell, so
that's right.
I feel like we'll see that, but we still have so many lingering threads and stuff like Marilyn Moonlight and.
Oh, who cares anymore, Matt? Let's forget that she exists.
But it's just like, oh man, again, him and his ideas, he just throws them out there, and if it sticks, great. If not, whatever. So
maybe she'll be an absolute power. Maybe she'll help during that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fine. I just two Superman books on one day. I should be very excited, and then I got to the end of these. I was like, okay, so those are books that I read.
On the upside, Action Comics will have moved on to Gail Simone next month. So
yes,
that's fun. That's different, at least. Maybe it won't be amazing, but at least it'll be different. So that's good.
That's where we get that fun. It looks like it's Clark in the past type stuff. He's at the red and black shield, and he looks like he's old school, Cub reporter.
Okay.
Type. So like you said, it might not be good, but it's going to be different.
Yeah. No, I dislike Gail Simone. I think she's done plenty of good stuff, but
all this just makes me miss Philip Kennedy Johnson. I was explaining to a friend at work that whole War World saga, and it just really made me miss that time when I got very excited to read Action.
Yeah, I miss War World saga. I mean, hell, even compared, like I miss Bendis even. Like, not that everything Bendis did was good, and there was definitely some weak spots, but there was definitely large stretches of Bendis's run that I really liked, much more than what Williamson's done in the book. So take that for what you will. All right. Did we rate? I want to rate both, I guess.
So, are we gonna rate them as a whole because they're 5 and 6? Or are we gonna itemize them?
Well, rate Superman then. No, rate Action then rate Superman.
Rate Action. Okay, so I'm gonna give Action mainly because the art shift, because there's that. I'm gonna give Action a 6, and I'm gonna give Superman a slightly higher 6.5. That's mainly because the art's consistent throughout. It's just not as imaginative.
I am going to give Action a 5 because Connor Kent just taking out the villain was spent issues building up that easily just was such a goddamn anticlimactic moment.
God, and she was kind of cool looking. Like the big Doomsday, like not like cool, great, but like she was a monster. And we didn't even get a cool monster fight. He punched the ground.
So I'll give that a 5, and I'll give Superman a 6.
Okay.
There we go. That's my ratings.